So I basically have CRP coming in and out every year. If I need pollinators will give me more points. It'll give me a better chance to get my ground in the CRP program, and that's mostly the reason I do it. My name is Chris Benish, and I live by Valparaiso, which is eastern Nebraska. Well, me and my brothers, we farm a few thousand acres, and we're primarily corn and soybeans. We're probably about 30% irrigated. We've had ground in CRP for, I don't know, since it started, basically.
I mean, 1985?
Sometime in the 80s. I mean, I was in high school, so.
Yeah.
So I basically have CRP coming in and out every year. I mean, just about every year I have a patch or two that I am with the people I work with and help run it, manage it. And so every year almost we're in that program, or every time there's a sign up, I've always got ground going in.
Yeah.
For re-enrollment or new or whatever. There's all kinds of different point levels and stuff you get with different CRP programs. And so if I need pollinators will give me more points. It'll give me a better chance to get my ground in the CRP program, and that's mostly the reason I do it. I want the ground in CRP, so I'm choosing pollinators to give me my best chance of getting that ground in CRP.
Right, yeah, that EBI score, that environmental benefits index.
Combinations of qualifying CRP practices can be selected during the application process, which would lead to a higher EBI score and more likely program approval.
If you can add, even if it's what, 10% pollinators in your
contract? A lot of
times
you can add 5-10 points. I mean, it can be valuable.
Qualifying CRP practices are each worth different points shown on this graph and are used to calculate the EBI. Not all are right for your property, but maximizing combinations of practices can go a long way.
CRP is always a competitive program, so you never know. I mean, if you bid enough ground into CRP, sometimes you can get an idea of how many points you need just because you've got some in and got some out. But every time they run a new program, it's a whole new system, and there's no guarantee when that number, like cash rent, there's no guarantee when that EBI number is going to move up or move down. So you want to try to, maximize your points to get things in. And then the other thing is there's certain fields where I really, really want them in, because it's like some highly erodible ground that's actually going to put the CRP in it, and then it reduces the runoff and the erosion off of that, so that it's not, that dirt and erosion is not screwing up other better ground. And so if it's something I really, really want in, then I'm more likely to do the pollinator to maximize my points so I get in for sure. And yeah, some of the ground that we've had to re-enroll at different times when it gets tighter to get it in, I've been re-enrolled it as a pollinator when it wasn't originally in it. I mean, every time your contract's up, you have to re-enroll it, and you don't always get it back in the same way it was.
Yep.
The way I use the CRP program has changed a lot, and I think I'm using it now more probably for what it was designed for, where I'm putting in the poor spots and the highly erodible spots and farming the better spots. Whereas, 30 years ago when I really wasn't part of the decision stuff, a lot of times it was just, you chose a field and you put it in CRP and it was done. And now we're doing, borders and ditches and erodible areas, and taking some of what was in CRP back out to farming, because there's places that aren't really good ground. Part of the reason we're able to do that today, do such a good job of picking where to put CRP or pollinators or what have you, is because of GPS, right? So GPS farming, where you can map your yields and map your ground, lets you know exactly what you have in the dirt. You can pick out the areas of your farms that aren't making you money and put them into CRP, which is safe and stops erosion and everything else, and basically make your ground more profitable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the big thing, is to increase our efficiency and increase our profit level. I mean, it takes management. A lot of people think CRP is a deal where the government's paying somebody for doing nothing, and in reality, they're paying you for letting your land sit idle, which is true, but it takes management. Otherwise, I mean, if you just plant something in pollinators and grass and leave it alone for 10 or 20 years. But when you come back, you'll have a forest, or the weed district will be calling you saying that they're going to come spray your weeds and you're going to have to pay them. I mean, it takes some management to maintain your fields in an operable condition, which is what you have to do to be in CRP. Management other than that, sometimes I'll fix a ditch or a waterway or something just so that it's fixed when there's no erosion coming down to help it. Our preferred method is haying, chemical control, and then reseeding. Fire is a great option because fire helps with trees, but I don't like getting all smoky. So, you know, when I was younger, we used to be out cultivating and would cuss things like milkweed and dogbane and weeds of that nature. But nowadays, with the chemicals we have, it's not really an issue. As far as like pollinators, if I'm doing like a 10% flower mix or something, a lot of times I will just pick an area that's, say, off to the side or out of the way rather than in the center of the field, because sometimes you have to do different things when you update them. So it's nice to have it, you know, in a block or where you can find it, remember where it's at, so that you can go address it later on when you have to do management. You know, integrated pest management it's all about things like, you know, it's the same as irrigation efficiency. I don't go water fields that don't need water. I don't want to spend money controlling bugs that don't need control. So, I mean, it's all about just not doing things, you know, for the looks or for the fun of it, only doing it when it's economically necessary and worthwhile. You know, everything's got to pay. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. I mean, it just has to pay, or it's going to be a hard sell. The neighborhoods that do have a lot of CRP, what you'll see is you'll see a lot more wildlife, you'll see a lot more bug diversity. And so what that happens is, as compared to areas that are fence line to fence line cropped, you don't see the explosion of harmful insects nearly as significantly and very seldom nearly as often, because there's so many more. It's so much more of a wide and varied group of bugs. It's just hard for one bug to come in and like massively take over and cause crop damage, because there's just so many birds, and so there's so much everything. It's hard for something to become a problem.
Yeah. That's an interesting
That's why
observation.
you came here.
Yeah. That's why.
Jake knows what he's doing. He's lining them.
Is there anything you want to say?
You would think so, but no.
I think you covered it pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
You did
Yeah,
great.
Really good.
Really nice. Really nice.
If you want to do more for pollinators on your farm, we're here to help. Start by reaching out to our Pollinator Habitat Help Desk at 337-422-4828 or habitat@monarchjointventure.org.